Hey, welcome back guys. Today we're going to go over an extremely close game, which we know in War Thunder can be a bit of a rare treat. I don't know about you, but more often than not, my experience is that in most games it tends to be a landslide victory or slaughterhouse for one side or the other. The other reason I wanted to go over this game is that it provides several examples of how you can improve your performance in War Thunder over time. I decided to bring this up because in matches, some players voice their frustration with the game, and I thought some of these tips may be able to help some of you improve your performance in the game, and thus you may end up enjoying the game a little more. That may sound somewhat trivial, but I think it's important to be able to enjoy the game because otherwise, what's the point in playing? So without further ado, let's get into it. So in this match, we are playing the Russian 5.3 BR M4A2. Some of the highlights or strengths of this vehicle that I really enjoy: good gun depression, stabilized gun, which allows you to shoot accurately on the move. You have decent penetration as well as post-penetration damage, so most of the time if you do penetrate with this gun, it'll be a one-shot kill. Now please note that the armor is not one of the highlights of this vehicle. However, you will get some miracle bounces every now and then. So for tip number one is don't head straight to the capture point at the beginning of the game unless you are an extremely fast light vehicle. The reasoning is fairly obvious. A huge portion of the enemy team knows where you are, they are headed for you, and will deploy artillery fire upon your position, so your chances of surviving are very slim. My first maneuver is going to be to find a spot with a good field of view and wait patiently for members of the enemy team to rush in and make some mistakes I can punish them for. As you can see, I didn't have to wait very long for that. And we start the beginning of the game with two very easy kills. This is going to end up being a 10 kill game, which I was happy with, but as you'll see, it could have been a 12 kill game but for some mistakes that I made along the way. I'm not even going to lie, that was a bit of a lucky snapshot there, which leads me to my second tip based upon the famous quote, "You miss every shot you don't take." This basically means that even if you're unsure of the shot, take it anyways because you can always get lucky and get a hit. We are totally going to fast forward through this part where I get stuck on a rock for a few minutes, which leads me to tip number 3. Avoid powerful rocks. So I'm on my way to defend B point and I notice this Panther up ahead with its turret facing away from me, which leads me to tip number 3. Whenever you have the first shot advantage, always disable the gun or the gunner first unless you have a guaranteed kill shot. One of the worst feelings ever in War Thunder is having the first shot advantage on someone, and then after you take the shot, they just turn their turret towards you and blast you away in one shot. That definitely leaves me feeling super salty anytime it happens to me. The easiest way to do this, apart from shooting the gun itself, is to shoot the part of the turret where the gunner sits. On most German and Soviet World War II era vehicles, the gunner is on the left side of the turret, and for American vehicles, the gunner usually sits on the right. There are always exceptions to this, but when in doubt you can use the X-ray feature in the hangar so you know exactly where the gunner sits on each individual vehicle. Here I come upon this Tiger right next to B point. I could have probably killed him and finished him off in one shot, but Just to make sure he didn't turn around and shoot at me, I decided to shoot him on the side of the turret first in the hopes of killing the commander as well as the turret. So being here, I decide that I might as well start capping since I'm already so close to the cap, and I make my first big mistake of the game. And I totally did not notice when this panther up on the top right corner of the screen pops up, and you can see what happens. Luckily, I had some teammates around in the area that kind of took his attention away from me, and I was able to get a shot into him in the turret. Now it gets a little hectic. I see the tiger trying to flank around on my left, so I decide to push towards him in the hope that I come unexpected and can get a shot on his side, and then this happens, which leads me to tip number 5. Whenever something like this happens to you, it'll always be easier to blame either Gaijin or lag or whatever. But as you can see here, I learned that this is actually a strip of armor on the tiger that cannot be penetrated. But if you aim pretty much anywhere above or below this line, it's an easy pen. I highly recommend making use of this feature anytime something similar happens to you. It will increase your knowledge of the soft spots in vehicles, which is always useful. Here is another example of such situations. Bounce, bounce, bingo. Here I pretty much got extremely lucky. I should have died, but he shot my gun instead of my turret, so we get a chance to fight on a little longer. Here I machine gun him a little bit just to let the rest of my team know that he is here, and then I back up to hopefully get a chance to repair my gun. Luckily for me, I do have some teammates around that are shooting at him, and then one of our airplanes ends up bombing him, so I do get enough time to repair my gun after all. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit through some of the boring parts. But basically here, I'm wanting to make my way to another portion of the map with a pretty good field of view. I'm definitely not trying to push into their spawn. That's a pretty big mistake that a lot of players make. They initially, after taking a capture point, the first thing you want to do is race over and spawn camp the enemy team. Big mistake, I'm not trying to do that, I'm just trying to find a spot where I can control the area and limit the enemy team's access to the area. I don't get very far before noticing another enemy taking B. Luckily, this is an easy side shot, and that's kill number 6. As you can see, it's not a very good idea to capture a point without first clearing the area around it. All it does is let enemies around you know exactly where you're at. I stopped for a bit here to see if I can hear any enemy vehicles nearby, and after moving up a bit further I noticed the KV-2 to my left. And since I know this vehicle has a pretty horrible turret traverse rate, I feel comfortable taking my time to aim carefully to make sure that I can take him out with one shot. Here I get a miraculous bounce from this Panther that apparently was sitting right in front of me the whole time and I never spotted him. So definitely don't feel bad if this happens to you, it happens to everyone. I don't have a clear shot on him, so instead I'm going to machine gun him a little bit just to let my team know that he's here, and hopefully, maybe, somebody will have a shot on him. Let's see. And bingo, another satisfied customer. I immediately hear engine sounds right by B point, and I know from the minimap that I have no teammates in that area, so I know right away that it's an enemy vehicle. And find another Panther going straight in for the cap. And that's kill number 8. So here we're just going to fast forward through some of the boring stuff, which is just me driving around the area, checking for enemy vehicles, and then just kind of keeping an eye on the area in front of Bravo, since I am expecting them to re-push into B anytime soon. Here I begin to feel a little bit campy, I'm getting a little bit bored, no enemies are coming, so then I decide to head off in the direction of C to try to retake it for our team. Which leads me to tip number 6. Consider relocating very carefully. In War Thunder, ambushes are a very powerful tool, and every time you relocate on the map, you highly increase your chances of running into an ambush and getting killed. Now saying that, I'm not trying to promote camping. Sometimes you need to push or relocate in order to win, but other times it's much more important to hold and control a key area of the map, and knowing when to relocate and when to hold is an art rather than a science that comes with experience. Just be wary of making a habit of relocating the second you find yourself with no one to shoot at. This habit of abandoning key positions to chase kills has lost me many matches that would have otherwise been easy wins. Fast forwarding a little bit more, as there are very few players left on both teams and running into someone is becoming extremely unlikely. I see from the minimap that we have an enemy vehicle on B point, but end up getting strafed and bombed on the way there, but luckily take no damage. And we end up finding a enemy tiger capturing B point. Take careful aim as he's giving us a good side shot, and that's kill number 10. And my final tip is to remember that the goal is to make progress, not to be perfect. Try to pick out one or two simple things from each game that you can improve on and put those into practice so you can improve slowly over time. I also want to give a shout out to DJ Neko, who was on our team this match and got 11 kills, 5 of which were enemy aircraft, so I credit him for not having been bombed by enemy aircraft this match. And I hope this was useful for some of you, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.